Hi, Jim.
Ian, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So, Jim is a voice actor, a commercial actor, a film actor, an animation actor, a video game actor. Uh, did I miss
Basically,
anything?
whatever pays money.
Whatever pays money.
Yeah, whatever's
Good.
crossing coin into my palm. I'm available.
So, if you have anything that you want Jim to do and you have some money, he'll do
Pretty much.
it.
Maybe not right now, but once I get my vaccine, I'm good to go.
Great. So, what's your website, your business name if it's different, and what are you doing these days?
Uh, I've never made a website. I'm one of the last holdouts.
You know what one is.
Yeah, I've been to a couple, but
Okay, good.
I don't care for it. Yeah, I've never. I would say I've never really truly marketed myself. I've kind of lived in this sort of temporary, oh, that guy, and then disappear, and then come back. So, um, I don't like to post a lot of stuff. I mean, I've got your basic food groups, got your Facebook and your Instagram. If I've uploaded more than 3 pictures, it's a miracle, and Twitter and all that. But um, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I don't. IMDb is probably the closest I'm ever going to come to having anything, and I'm not even in charge of that.
wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing. I don't think I've met another actor without a website before.
yeah, I'll one up you on that one. Never had a headshot.
Never had a headshot, never
Nope,
had a website.
nope.
You have an agent.
Got those.
Yeah.
Got those. I just kind of came in during a time where you stopped needing demo tapes on you at all times, walking around with cassettes and carrying around your headshots because when you're doing an on-camera audition now, they don't ask for picture and resume hardly anymore, especially in the commercial world. They take your picture right there
Right.
in whatever you're wearing. So I've never really, a couple of times, like if I've done like a play or something, they're like, hey, do you have a headshot? And that's where I'm always like, or if it's like a promotional photo for something like, do you have a headshot? I'm like, oh God, I don't. That's the only time I've thought about. I mean, I had a friend take one like years ago, but I was younger. I didn't have a beard. I can't pass that off now.
Okay. Well, let me
But yeah,
actually,
I don't, I just not good at the self promotion, I guess.
we'll smile so I can take a screenshot. There we go. Because we're going to need one. All right. Oh,
Yeah.
I think you stopped smiling there for just a second.
Ah, all right.
Okay. For those of you listening on the podcast, okay, that's a good face right there.
You want that one?
Yeah, that's going to be on the podcast. Okay,
We're good.
perfect. Yeah, we're good.
Perfect.
Okay. I
Just
could
always
tell.
that what is this look? What is going on look? The fitting of my age.
It's going to go on a website.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Right. And the kids like those, right?
the kids like those websites. Oh, I love your sense of humor, man.
Thanks,
That's
man.
great. Yeah. So, so what are you doing these days?
Well, looks like I'm sitting in a shower, but this is a Studio Bricks booth that I put in March of 2020.
Uh-huh.
Once things started to lock down, everybody's agents were pretty much, hey, get a studio in your house or you're not going to eat.
Uh-huh.
And so I like immediately got this thing in here within a week. They had like one left in New Jersey. Matter of fact, I think I beat a friend for it. So yeah, I was just gonna buy one. There's like somebody bought it. It's terrible. So, I spent a couple of bucks and, explained to my wife that it's going to be in the living room, which the outside of the booth is white. So it kind of goes with some of the furniture that's over on this side. So it's,
Yeah.
what started out as like a monstrosity in the corner is just like a part of the house now. And we are eating. So I think she's given me a pass on that. It was just Studio Bricks booths are so heavy. I mean, the door alone is like 130 pounds. Just getting the thing into my house, I was all bruised up. And
How
I'm
does
not
it
really
come?
great.
Does it come in boxes?
It comes in a big giant box on like the truck backs up. And then I had to help the guy slide it onto the end platform, the back of the truck, and then lower it down. And then he was one of the early disbelievers of COVID, thought it was a hoax. So I wasn't going to let him into my house to help build it. Cause, at that time I was at like my most paranoid about what we were dealing with. So I was like,
Right.
leave it right here in the front of the house. I'll bring it in. I'll put it together.
How many
So,
pieces
like
was it?
a lot.
Okay.
It's kind of like, it's really like the name Studio Bricks. It comes, it's like Lego. They're like Lego pieces. And it's really not terribly if you've never done it before, it's going to take all day. Once like if I moved, I could break this down pretty quickly and probably put it together within an hour.
Okay.
But, the door, you need help with the door. You need help getting the roof on top. There's like a little European air filtration thing because you're pretty vacuumed in here.
Right.
So like right now, I forgot to turn it on, so I'm starting to get faint. So I'll just turn that on so that I don't pass out in the middle of the interview. But it sucks air in and just keeps like oxygen flowing through. There's a little hole you can run your cables out. So it's nice. I mean, look, if my wife like came to the door right now and started screaming at me, I'd hear her. Like I can hear the dog bark, but it deadens the sound enough for a good record, providing everybody's like, hey, just dance on the booth if you want to just like hold down.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's nice. So that's what I've been doing. I've been working in this thing. Not mostly animation.
Nice.
2020 seems to be the year that, after 20 years, my animation started to kick off. Not that I haven't done any, but now it's really starting, like I'm finally dipping my toe on that West Coast animation, which is God hard to get in with that small fraternity or sorority of actors who have just been, historically, they just hire the people that are out there. They live right near the studios. They're incredibly talented. Some of the best out there are out there. So there's really no reason to ever look back east. But now, at some point, the technology was going to catch up. And I think, with this whole thing with COVID, I was able to take advantage of they needed you to work at home. And I'm home. So home is anywhere at this point. I mean, I could move to Des Moines and I'll be fine. Not that I would. Nothing wrong with Des Moines. So,
for those of you listening in Des Moines, I'm very sorry.
Yeah. No, Des Moines is great. It's just if it sounded less funny, it would not be used in as many jokes.
So I see you in Curious George, Rio 2, Epic, Ice Age Continental Drift, Kung Fu Magoo.
Yeah, you're just running right down the IMDb page. Yeah. I don't know where
Celebrity Deathmatch, my personal favorite.
Well, that's where it all started, back in the late 90s when I had first moved down to the city. Friend of a friend got me in doing that. And those were the early, couple of $100 in your pocket to do a semi bad impression of a celebrity, but it was a cult hit. And claymation's fun in any format. It's great.
It is. I love that show.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't Aardman, but it was pretty spectacular what they did. And it was just some of the most fun I've had working on that show with Eric Fogel and his team.
Who did you do?
Oh God, I think in the 4 years or so that I worked on, I probably did about 40 or 50 voices for them. Maybe. It's kind of like how you auditioned for that show was different. It was like a prank phone call. They would leave, like the casting director would say, here, it would email you, here's a list of the celebrities we're looking for. Call this number and leave your impression. No script, no nothing. So it was like leaving a prank phone call. And I think a lot of cases it was like if you got it and you didn't really do a good impression of the particular celebrity, you just sucked the least. It's the same check whether you do it brilliantly or not, as long as you get hired for it. But I'm more comfortable when I can do a better job. I did Harrison Ford for them. I think I did Weird Al Yankovic. I'm not 100% sure. I think some country singer and some side characters too. And I think my favorite was when they had Beavis and Butthead fight each other. I got to do both Beavis and Butthead.
Oh, nice.
For that. I think Mike Judge, from what I understand, he was already heavy into doing King of the Hill at the time. And I was so into Beavis and Butthead at the time that I always used to do their voices between takes anyway. And so the engineer was like, just riff something. I'm going to send it to him and see if he's cool with it. And he was like, that's fine. You could do it. And one thing I found out, I didn't know that, Mike Judge is a very deep voice. that they pitch up his voice.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so he's probably doing Beavis like down here and stuff, but then they do it up. So I didn't, I always did Butthead, in the right tone.
Yeah,
Beavis,
nice.
damn it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The only thing I couldn't do, I can't do the rapid laughing.
Uh-huh.
Like I can get the tone of their voices, but Butthead's laugh, like I can't do that. Just
Yeah.
couldn't get it.
I can't even hear
That
that
took
in
the
my head.
hardest to get those laughs down. Something about
Yeah.
that stuff. And it's like the Peter Griffin laugh or something. It's like I can't machine gun stuff.
Well, laughs are so unique, they're hard to do. Get someone's laugh down,
Yeah.
So,
It's a tough one.
my wife is a, semi-professional comedian, and she grew up trying to make her mom laugh because her mom's laugh is like this.
Wow. Yeah.
And so who doesn't want to result in that, right?
It's an orgasm or a near-death experience. Either way, it's entertaining.
I know.
Let's crank up the humor.
Yeah,
That's
like
great.
when you really get her laughing, that's how she goes. So
that's really good.
So what are your most recent projects that you can talk about?
Oh yeah, I guess I'm in the phase where it's like you can't talk about them until they come out or something. Well, I'm I see there goes the dog already. I know one show is going up. I'm in Jellystone, which is going to be I think is going to be on HBO Max at some point this year, and I'm voicing Huckleberry Hound and Captain Caveman and some little side voices here and there. So I'm going to be on I've got a couple of characters in the Cuphead show coming out on Netflix. I'm really excited for that one. I mean, I'm not one of the main people, but it's I'm Ollie the Onion, unless it replaced me. I don't think they did. And Ollie, the game is so popular with that. I don't know if you're familiar with the Cuphead game.
No, not at all.
This game came out. It was like the 1930s style animation, and it was just like original ragtime jazz music was written for it, and they're doing that again for the cartoon now. It's just these two characters. They look like cups, cups or mugs. And stylized, from what I hear from gamers, the game is extremely hard, but really rewarding.
What's the point of the cup? What's the point of the game?
I haven't played a video game since Madden, and even I'm tired of that because like, oh, it's still football. So yeah. I used my Xbox for Netflix for so long. It's been a while. But I think it's like a first person shooter, not 100%. Forgive me, Cuphead folk, if I don't look, I'm doing the Onion. Yeah. So there's that. I've worked on a couple of pilots, one for Nickelodeon and one for Disney, that hopefully they like and gets picked up and goes to series. There's another show on Netflix that I don't know past voicing it, so I don't know that I can mention that either. But it's great. I mean, I got into this business to do cartoons, and unfortunately, I lived on the East Coast, and so I've done animation for PBS. I was Rough Ruffman since 2005, still am in small doses. That was a tremendous show, but I really wanted to do that full time. It's just what wound up happening is it was mostly voiceovers and commercials, and then later on in my career, it became on cam, worked its way in, which is not something I ever wanted to do.
What were you doing before voiceover?
I was working in a prison.
Really?
Yeah.
That's what?
Yeah. I'm from upstate New York, like in the Hudson Valley. It's really not a lot of industry left. So, yeah, right. Working, not living.
Yes. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't think they'd hire you if you had a record. Yeah, my father is a retired corrections officer. He retired a captain. I've had family that work for the Department of Corrections. If you're living up in the Hudson Valley, there's really, taking your civil service test and working for the state was what a lot of people do up there because there's not a lot up there.
Right.
So, my father said, while you're trying to figure out what you want to do, just take the civil service test. You can make a little money. You'll have health insurance. And I worked in the commissary at Woodburn Correctional Facility in Sullivan County, which was 15 minutes from my house, easy drive. And I worked, I think by the time I stopped in 97, when I moved down to New York, I probably had worked in about 4 or 5 different prison systems.
Wow.
Yeah, working in the commissary mostly, selling inmates groceries, supplies, and whatnot.
Cigarettes.
Yeah, duh, yeah, that's currency, man. That's
Yeah,
currency.
definitely.
Let's see, back in 1989, I think a pack of Newports in jail was like $1.70. It was like the same price of a pint of Ben and Jerry's.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Crazy.
that's what I did. I mean, I went to college for theater, but I knew I wasn't going to do any acting. I was just trying to get some improv chops and some skills because I knew early on I wanted to get into the voiceover industry, but I was just so green to it. I didn't even know what to do. Like I didn't even know what SAG or AFTRA stood for. Or I'm terrible with acronyms historically. I just knew I wanted to do this, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But I kind of got lucky and ran into the right people at the right time, and so that's definitely helped.
So how did you get into it other than running into the right people at the right time?
I got into it. Uh, you know, uh, there was a casting director by the name of Kate Rados who was casting all the celebrity deathmatch stuff.
Uh-huh.
And even that was friend of a friend. That was, I have a guy, he's one of my best friends. He used to live with another guy who knew this guy that dated this girl that was casting for Celebrity Deathmatch. The girl was Kate and dropped my name. So that was kind of a friend of a friend. It's like, oh, I kind of know somebody that's sort of doing that. I mean, I was doing a little bit of stand up, but that was mostly because I was bored. I wasn't necessarily very good at it.
Uh-huh.
And this gave me some microphone experience. It was just interesting timing because I moved down in 97, so I'm 26, 27 years old, and I was getting close to 30. And then once get around 30, you get this kind of like a little check-in with yourself, like,
Mhm.
hey, what am I doing? You want to get married, you want to have kids, you want to be able to provide for them. And I had a kind of a flexible day job, which was great. But it was kind of a shit or get off the pot type of situation. So Kate tried to pitch me to a few agencies, and they weren't really looking for talent. I freelanced a little bit with Abrams, and I was pretty much ready to throw in the towel when she reached out to an agency called Access Talent with Linda Weaver and Chaz Cowing. And they were sort of still building their client. They were kind of a new agency, and they had a lot of promo people. They were looking for more character commercial people. And it was just, I took a meeting, and it was just a really good fit.
Mhm.
And they signed me like the next day. Like I gave them my
Nice.
little shitty made up demo tape. I'm like, obviously none of this is real. Uh, if you like it, great. If not, thanks for having me in. It's one of those. I got home, there was a message on my machine. They wanted to sign me.
Nice.
So that's kind of how it
Congratulations.
started. Thank
Uh-huh.
you. And I still kept my day job. I'm just kind of paranoid. I don't like lifting up one foot without the other one still on the ground.
Sure.
So I did not, I'm not a big risk taker,
Uh-huh.
risk averse,
Uh-huh.
which is safe in one ways. I don't know how safe it is in this business where you got to put yourself out there or, but it's just how I was. And
What was your day job?
I used to work for a corporate software training company called Cal Canterbury. They don't exist anymore. But they used to teach companies how to use certain softwares, Word, Excel, and all
Uh-huh.
that. Working in the offices in the late 90s and the early 2000s, people were still learning how to use that in an office setting.
Right.
So they would send people to us, and we would. I didn't know much about computers myself, but a friend of mine got me into the place, and that's how I worked there. And I learned as I went. I was more like an office manager type, setting up the computers and whatnot. So that was right on 49th and 3rd Avenue. Real nice. And right across from old where Gray Advertising used to be, which was funny. But that was we didn't have any management there. It was me and like another guy. So, I was like, hey, I got an audition. He goes, I'll cover for you. So his job, he covered for me while I ran out and auditioned. And then I would work till 1:00 in the morning, setting up everything for the next day while he worked on his web design stuff. So
Oh, nice.
that worked for that worked very nicely until I started working more as a voiceover actor than I could give my time to my
Mhm.
job. And eventually the president of the company found out about it and came in and talked to me. And I thought I was fired right there, but he was like, that is so cool. And he's like, well, look, now that I know, as long as all the work is getting done and you have coverage, I'm fine with it. But, eventually I had to quit that job because I was making more money as a voice actor than I was at the day job. And
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, well, yeah, but it's like when you're not used to, look, when I worked a day job, I knew what I was getting every 2 weeks.
I understand that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's not a lot, but you know what it is.
Right.
This business, you can get a really nice check and you're like, well, when am I going to get another check?
Right.
Okay, well, what do I do with this? What can I
Right.
do with it? So the flux of money up and down can drive you crazy. It's like, how do you budget?
Yeah.
When you don't know, like 1 year you can make a lot of money. 1 year you could, I got to sell my house. So
Ooh.
it's crazy. It's crazy. And it's gotten crazier over the years. You just don't know anymore.
Ooh.
So I'm just trying to hang on till retirement. But yeah, but another actor named Jeffrey Cantor is like, hey, you're an actor now, quit your job. And I was terrified to do that. I felt, after a year, I was like, oh, okay, I think this is what I do now. This is what I do now. This is what I do now. And now it's like, I'm so lazy. The thought of going back to work is just, I've come close a few times, but man, I've come close to filling out an application at Target.
Yeah.
Whose Goodfellas line of clothing is outstanding, gentlemen. Outstanding.
Did you do
really
it
good?
for them?
I'm telling you, Target's the shit, man.
It is. It is.
Yeah. No, I don't think I've ever had a Target booking.
Well,
That's unsolicited. Nice. I'm under no obligation to compliment that company. It's from the heart.
So it was running into this woman, getting the agent, and then just getting jobs through the agency.
Yeah, that's it. And fortunately, having the kind of job, if you're trying to get into this business, it's like you still have to make money while you're trying to do this.
Right.
So that's why, all the actors, they bartend or they wait tables because they can do that at night because you need your day for auditioning and work. You need that.
Mm-hmm.
So I happen to have the one day job where I could escape back and forth. So that, worked out good until you were going like leaving at 10 and not coming back till 4. At that point, you're not working anymore. You're serving nobody. Even the guy that was coming from me was like, dude, it's too much, man.
Yeah. Well, that's why I have a podcast, because it brings in all the money, right?
Right. I don't know much about podcasting. Even I just started doing one.
Yeah.
I have no idea how that lifetime. Well, it's not even out yet. They're still. I'm in tandem with another with a production company. And so they're still cutting stuff. I mean, I've done all my stuff. I've done all my recording and whatnot. But now I'm sitting back. I just like the bullshit. So if they want to turn it into a show, that's fine.
Yeah, great. I mean, I feel the same way. I want to know how people did it, and I like to bullshit. So this works.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, there's luck. There's been a little help, but, I started teaching voiceover this past year, mostly to people like intro classes to people that have a general curiosity, not necessarily people that want to do it, through the Morristown Performing Arts, the Mayo Theater, like 15 minutes away, because my daughter would take acting classes there. And because of COVID, they haven't been putting on any shows.
Right.
So they're looking for ways to generate income. So I was like, oh, they're like, would you be willing to teach a class? And I was like, okay, that's fine. Normally I would not recommend people take a voiceover class from an actor because we don't want any more people in the business.
Right.
Why would I help somebody get a job over me?
Yeah.
I would sabotage that shit.
I'm taking classes from a casting director, and also
that's the way to go.
Yeah,
that's the way I would always say. It's like, look, I'm not saying there aren't actors out there, like, especially if you're like retired and you're like, I just want to give back or whatever. I mean, D. Bradley Baker is one of the most famous animation voices out there. And he's the voice of all the clones on the Clone Wars. He's the voice of a million things. It's just, we could spend all Perry the Platypus and the fish in American Dad. I mean, he's just had a huge career. And, he was teaching an advanced animation class in New York. He doesn't need the money, but he's very, pro helping people. He's a nice guy. So I don't want to just blanket statement that an actor can't do it. I'm just always suspicious when they do. So, but casting directors, I always think is a great idea for taking voiceover classes. They have a stake in the game. They see more scripts than you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
And they've heard every kind of read from every kind of voice. So, that's always a better choice. So who are you taking yours with?
I'm trying to remember his name right now, and I'm blanking.
That's not good. Is it
No,
Andy?
he's
Is he in New York?
yeah, he is. Give me a second.
Is it
I'm
Andy?
just
Is it Roger? Is it
it's Roger. Roger Becker.
Roger Becker?
I was just like me.
Roger Becker was the in-house studio director at Access Talent when I was there. And when
Yeah.
he left, I think my bookings went down
Yeah.
just because he's arguably my favorite casting director. Plus, he's
Nice.
like one of the few dudes
Yeah. And I took
that are
I took
doing
a
it,
class with Andy too. So
Andy's great. Andy's great. Like all these, I can't think of a casting director that teaches that I would not recommend
uh-huh.
just because I've read for all of them and they all have, casting directors just have a perspective of, we come in and we look at a script and we try to think, what are they looking for? What do I have to bring to this? What can I give them that they weren't looking for? That type of stuff. Casting directors see all the scripts. They know all the clients. They know all the talent at all the different agencies. So they're kind of the hub for everything. So they know what they're looking for more than you think you do.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a great source. And also, like, if they think you got something, and they could point you to a direction of like, I wouldn't go to this agency. They have 7 of you. Who I don't think has a lot of you, maybe this agency that can be valuable too. They kind of will help balance out the talent distribution. Or I'm
Nice.
talking out of my ass. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Well, thank you. So what do you think you owe your success in voiceover to, other than just raw talent and luck?
Well, my father, I think, first of all. I know that's like, seems to be a post Super Bowl thing, but my father's and just my family is very center of attention at Thanksgiving, ultra competitive, a lot of character, loves to tell stories,
Uh-huh.
and fluctuates the voices and the highs and the lows to emphasize things. So anytime that like my father and his mother and her sisters and brothers would talk, you're just captivated because there's just it almost felt like a TED talk, like a blue collar TED talk all the time in my family, because they just knew how to tell a story and they could hold a room. And so I'm like, I'm going to take that and I'm going to make money. I
Nice.
want to try to make money with that. And so I credit my father has the same exact voice that I do. And he's 76. He still sounds exactly like
Nice.
me, which is good. So hopefully my voice quality will stay this way when I'm old. And then it just don't go on camera so people don't know how old I am.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that my dad is a big influence on how I talk. Some I would say some mimicry that I can do, not necessarily an impression, but rhythm and pace of certain people.
Mm-hmm. And that's a
I
lot of it.
It's a lot of it, but like it's like there are trends in voiceovers too. There are pacing trends in
Uh-huh.
voiceovers, and you'll see specs change all the time for auditions. Jon Stewart is a spec, and then Stephen Colbert became a spec because the rhythm of how they talk. Phil Hartman still breaks my heart every time you're an angel if you throw Phil Hartman on for a spec,
Mm-hmm.
because there was just a way that he delivered things. And so, specs are like music notes. They're just music guides for
Mm-hmm.
rhythm and pace, not so much an impression. Ty Burrell is, I think, been the dad spec for years. Maybe it's somebody else now. I don't know. But that type of stuff I stay in tune to. My agents, obviously, because you're not really going to go anywhere without them. It's not like you're
Mm-hmm.
going to go get the work yourself. I don't have maybe you can. I don't have that kind of work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to put your trust in them. Yeah, and a very understanding family when I have to leave. So,
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
just surrounding yourself with good people and really trying to treat the business like a job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, show up on time. There was a period, when I really started to work and people started to get to know me. I started to get a little full of myself. Wasn't quite as punctual as I should be,
Mm-hmm.
especially for jobs. Couple of smackdowns from some key people were
Mm-hmm.
necessary. And I've learned to appreciate every single job, whether it's a demo or a campaign.
Mhm.
And, you know, even a job you don't really like. It's like,
Mhm.
well, this is like a shit demo. I was like, yeah, well, that's like a producer that also has to work on that shit demo and an engineer that has no interest in that shit demo. So everybody's getting paid. Try not to put so much of your art, you're denying your art into it, and just make them happy and give them what they're looking for and then get out of there. Show up on time, please and thank you, sign the paperwork, and get out.
That goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. Because not every job's like the most fun in the world, but
Yeah.
don't phone it in, man.
Yeah. Any other suggestions for new voice actors?
Yeah, police your social media. Keep your politics out of your social media, especially any actor that's going to do commercials.
I am amazed by people who put political stuff on LinkedIn.
What's the purpose of that? Unless you're
I
working for a
don't even
campaign.
know. Yeah, I am blown away by it.
Yeah, I didn't know. I have LinkedIn. I don't know why I have it. It's on there. I guess every once in a while I find somebody. Oh, I haven't seen that person in forever or whatever. But
It's one of
I
those
couldn't.
website things.
Yeah, it seemed like a really good idea that never quite got going, but also never disappeared either. I mean,
Yeah.
look, in my field, I don't really use LinkedIn, so I'm sure that serves a purpose to other people. Otherwise, it wouldn't be around anymore.
Right.
It's not like it's MySpace or something. But I would say, yeah, the big one. I used to tell students, or if I'm speaking at a class or something, I'd say like, yeah, take a class with a casting director, and those used to be some of the big things. Like, if you're looking to put a reel together and you don't have access to copy, magazine copy is always a good idea, because the print on the magazine copy is very similar to what you'd hear in a voiceover. Those are always fun. But now, like, one of the first things I'll say, especially if they're young, especially if they're in their late teens or early 20s, cleanse thy social media and be quiet. Because if you're a political person, that's your choice. That's totally fair. If you're active in politics, it has its use. It's great. If you're going to voice commercials, you are a corporate whore. You have agreed to shuck products for the man. And therefore, you better know where their politics lie, because a lot of times on sign-in sheets now, they want to know your Twitter handle, they want to know your Facebook, they want to know your Instagram, and they have people that they hire people to follow you from the second you even audition, if the job's big enough. I was the spokesperson for TD Ameritrade for the last 4 years. Man, if I even tweeted one thing that they thought was not cool, my agent would be on the phone with me about 4 seconds after I hit the send button.
Wow.
That's how quick that happens.
That's amazing.
And look, not that I have my politics, I have my outrage, but I keep it within the 4 walls. I have run into too many actors who have said, I have lost this opportunity or this job because of things that I have posted, because of a YouTube thing that I made. So, you gotta be really careful. And another thing too is like, why are you doing it? Why are you virtue signaling? And like, if you take your friends on Facebook, and wouldn't you think probably 90% of them are like-minded? That's why they're your friends. You have family members who are opposite, and you have a couple of friends who are for some reason outliers, but are otherwise a good person. So what are you doing posting that to people that already agree with you, that if you scrolled for a minute, you probably already saw somebody else do it? And now they're looking at your stuff going, there's too much heat on this. I don't. So, I had gotten the Ameritrade gig in November, I think was of 2016. So right after Trump was elected. And so, and my wife sat there, and I'm like, I don't know where Ameritrade stands on this, but do not post a damn thing. You don't like that you got elected? Be mad over here. Don't post anything. And sure enough, smart move.
Although at this point, I feel like it's pretty safe to just say, gosh, I'm really not into the whole coup.
Yeah, yeah, it's probably fine now. I
Yeah.
mean, even I
Golly, I
posted a
really
few
didn't like
things
the
now.
violence at the Capitol. That was bad.
It's universal now. I
Yeah.
think the world's gone a bit crazier, so I feel like I'm less paid attention to, but I still think it's a good
Yeah.
rule of thumb.
Yeah.
It's a good rule of thumb. A lot of corporations are more right leaning in their politics because the policies that pass that benefit them.
Yeah.
So you just gotta, it's very difficult to justify being outraged and then, tweet it from your iPhone, which, certain chips, certain parts are, made in
Right.
Asia,
Foxconn
but
and
children, it's just,
right.
it's hard. It's very hard when you have to
Yeah.
weigh out where your moral outrage is going to be. But I say don't do anything that's going to jeopardize work
Yeah.
because you do work for corporations when you do a commercial. And so be wary of that.
That's really good advice. What else? What else you got for new VAs? Come on, come on, come on, give it to us.
Yeah, show up on time. Don't show up too early. Don't show up any earlier than 15 minutes. I'm like, right now, you're MP3ing from home. Don't wait till the last second to MP3 your audition. It doesn't give your agent time to listen to it. And, like if it's due at 6 o'clock, don't send it at 5:58. Send it as soon as you get it. Even I'm guilty of waiting till the next day. Like I'll do it an hour before it's due. But still, like, send something early. Even the day before, if you get it and you're near your booth, just go send it because your agent's going to get a chance to listen to it. And that gives them time to like, hey, give me one more of these, da-da-da-da-da-da. And you can tweak it much better. Get it. You have to do it anyway. Just do it. It's going to take a minute. And this gives everybody time to make adjustments. Whereas if it's due at 6 o'clock on Thursday and it's 5:58 and you get it in, they're like, just either throw it out or throw it in with the rest. So that's that. Let's see there. Don't think that voiceovers need to be about different characters and voices. 95% of what you do is going to be done in your own voice.
Okay.
Yes, you will occasionally have to do an accent. I don't do a lot of accents. I don't, every time there's a French one, I'm like, hey, I'm passing. Remember, I suck at that. Don't be afraid to pass on something you absolutely cannot do.
Right.
Now, if your agent pushes you to do it, you should do it.
Right.
But if, also,
I'm not going to do that James Earl Jones impression. James Earl Jones.
Right. You're not going to drop down there. They should know that. They should have a list of people that can.
Yeah.
And then send it to those. I would say it really depends on the field you're trying to get into. If you're talking about voiceover for commercials, I think an approach to those, most actors are probably going to voice what you're about to read very similar. So how do you separate yourself from somebody else? It really comes down to opinion and experience. And what I mean by that is when I used to audition for like dads, now I sound exactly the same now. I've sounded like somebody's dad since I was 17. But I didn't really have the perspective of a dad husband thing in my reads. So when I would read for a husband or dad, like when I started out, I wasn't really booking them. Now I book them all the time because there's a bit of subtext that always goes into my reads when you're playing a dad or a husband, which is a certain level of exhaustion, even if it's an energetic read. And, in regards to being that husband and father, there's just something underneath that I always have there that suggests that, God, I love you all so much, but if you say the wrong thing, I'm going to cut your throats. Now, that's hard to sneak into a read. Right. So it could be a hesitation or a pacing or a little thing like that. But it's like certain notes are going to just draw the attention to you. You have to have an opinion about what you're saying. And it's hard with commercials because it's like, hey, there's 3 lines. How am I going to build that narrative? And that's why you won't get most of the things you read on. Because it's hard. It's not hard in the sense that like I don't have to lift anything heavy, but I'm wiped out at the end of a session. I'm tired. Like I'll come out of this interview and just go lie down on the couch for an hour because your adrenaline's up, and especially now everybody's been sitting on their ass for a year. Right. So it's like if you do anything with any adrenaline at all, it like takes double out of you. So just, really understand like what it is you're reading and what it is they're looking for, and always try to give them what they're looking for, but always try to give them what you think they might also be looking for. Your personality and your opinion on things in the world, I think, is relevant to you reading, and it'll bring out the most sincerity.
Okay.
So there you go. I mean, I'm bad with tools. So on a Home Depot spot, that's going to be apparent. It's just those little things. Monologue stuff I love. I love monologue stuff. You don't see those too much anymore, but I steal from George Carlin all the time on monologues, just because of the melodic highs and lows that Carlin puts into his bits. It translates, and plus he came from radio also. So there's a commercial-esque aspect to a lot of Carlin's deliveries. I steal constantly on that. So listening to commercials too. Stop fast forwarding to these fucking commercials.
Exactly. Were you in radio?
No, I mean, I was a broadcast major. I had wanted to be kind of like a Don Imus type thing. Not quite a Stern, not quite an Imus, but that kind of like morning crew with people. I wanted to have that. But it was becoming apparent that the DJ was dying. This, of course, was before Sirius, where the DJ could come back and actually talk about B-sides and other things. But I really wanted to do cartoons. I actually one of the people that took D. Bradley Baker's class, and it absolutely changed the way that I read for animation. And I think is just as responsible for working as the work that my agent at Buchwald put in.
Can you summarize what it was that changed what you read for animation? How did you?
Say you got like an animation script, okay? And so you're reading through it. So you got a line here, you got a line 2 lines down, you have a response line, you have another line, you have a little paragraph, this and that. So what do? So you read it in character with the energy of the intention in the line that you're reading, and that's fine. That's great. What D is suggesting is there's shit going on that's not just your line. You're reacting to what's going on in the scene. So you can do your line completely perfect and it sounds great, but what else is happening? So you just have spot, just line, perfectly delivered, character right on the money. Now, that might be enough, but you got to thread all those things together, man. You thread that football, baby. So what's going on right before your first line? What's going on while the other character is talking? That's where you can inject listening. Verbal listening, like, your little ahas and right before you're reacting in sound and in time to what's going on in the scene, so that when they're listening back to your audition, you're almost audiobook telling them what's happening. Now, not too much. You're not creating another paragraph, like you're not writing a whole line, but little kicks and punches, I think really help put in their head what it is you're doing, and also lets them know that you get what they're doing, what they're trying to create in the scene. And I think that becomes a much more appealing listen for them. You're not rewriting it, but you are sewing the thoughts together a little more, sometimes with a little bit of dialogue. Sometimes I'll put in a line that's not there, just kind of like a little, it's like buttoning the end of a commercial a little bit, but never in a way that interrupts the rhythm of the copy, because that's just going to sound self-serving and you trying to be clever.
So things like, yeah, right, okay, got it.
Things like that. Like I had a line in an audition for a pilot that I did where I go, okay, everybody, it's so-and-so's birthday. We got a store-bought cake and da-da-da. That's the line. This is a store-bought cake. And so da-da-da, let's hit the lights. And then we're going to start singing. So I say all that. Okay, everybody, da-da-da, it's a birthday. We got a store-bought cake. Da-da-da, very exciting. All right, hit the lights. No, don't dim them. Hit them. Turn them off. That.
Yeah.
Right. So that's like, so all I say is, no, don't, say hit the lights. And it's like, it's somebody. So I picture just somebody dimming them. That's not in the script. But I was like, I think that'd be fun, because I always, it makes me think of my father, like when you're standing and you come into the room and you stand in front of the television set. And your dad's sitting there trying to watch 60 Minutes and like you're just kind of in your own fog, and he goes, hey, you make a better door than you do a window. And so you're out of there. When I want
Yeah.
shit from you, I'll squeeze your head, or my dad will fart and go, that was a report from Fort S. General shit will be here any minute. It's those little things where I'm trying to picture what's going on. I know there's about 12 people in the room. All right, everybody, let's hold that, please. Let's take that, hit the lights. No, don't dim them, turn them off. Those little things. And then they can have a little like, oh, I like that. And I have found that in a couple of sessions that I really like when you said this or that. I had another audition where a character was kind of a little boastful, a little arrogant, and was saying, I think the line was something to the extent of, let's get a couple of things straight. One, nobody cares about you two dum-dums, and two, the only ba is me. So I'm like, all right, this character's not that bright, but he thinks he's very bright. So I come out and I go, A, nobody cares about you two dum-dums. 6, the only person that cares about anybody is, so it's just like,
Right.
So he's emphasizing intelligence, but it's like A6. So there's a little subtle thing going. So I didn't interrupt the rhythm of the thing. I kind of made it my own a little bit, stuck to what they were going with. But it's those little, it also shows them that they can work with you, that you're thinking what they're thinking, or at least you're trying to. And if not, well, because you didn't get the part. So,
Right.
I think those things can only help you. I think you really have to look at the whole script that is sent to you. And also you need to find out, especially in regards to animation, Dee was teaching us, you are within your right to ask as many questions to your agent and as possible, such as, all right, well, what network is this on? What is the age demographic of the audience? That's huge. If you're playing, a bridge troll, and it's on Cartoon Network, well, you can probably get pretty fierce. It's 8 to 10 to 12, even if it's Adult Swim, you can really get crazy with it. But if it's Disney XD and the demographic is 4 to 6, well, you can't be screaming troll stuff. And, the nicest words to an intense troll is they're like, hey, we are very cognizant of not trying to scare children. So you got to find out, what is the age demographic you're aiming for? What network is it on? What has this creator done before? That's a big one. I never thought about these things. If I'm auditioning for a role on Solar Opposites, I can't read it like I'm a character on The Simpsons.
Right.
Or maybe a character on Family Guy, which is a little more fast-paced. Solar Opposites and Rick and Morty, they move.
Right.
You're following it or you're not. But nobody's sitting back. There is just a serious intensity. So, you have to understand, what have the creators done? Are they consistent with that? Do they do something vastly different? What is their pace? What do they like to work with? So I think you're allowed to find that stuff out, and your agent should, look into that if you can't find anything, but usually you can find that on the internet.
All right. Nice. Good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
You ready to do a dry read?
Yeah, so funny. You sent this Lyft. I'm like, man, I did a commercial for Lyft, and then a week later they replaced me with somebody else. And I was like, fuck you, Lyft. I take it so personally sometimes. You're not supposed to. I haven't had a Twix. I haven't had a Twix in years because I came in and I did all these spots for Twix, the whole left Twix, right Twix, which was a brilliant campaign. And I'm like, I think I came in on a Sunday one day to do pickups. I'm like, woohoo, yeah. And then they went with some other dude that sort of sounded like me. I guess he was like a B-list celebrity. I don't know. I'm talking to my ass on that, but I was like, mother, no Twix in this house. Chuck them. We got them for Halloween. So really petty. And you know what? And here's how much of a hypocrite I am. They came tomorrow. I was like, we'd like you to do Twix. I'm like, absolutely. So how mad was I?
Well, how mad were you really?
How mad was I really? Where are my principles?
Yes. Ethics? What ethics?
Yeah, there are none. Yes, and thank you. And I will show up for a third callback radio demo on Christmas morning.
Nice.
Because I just don't say no.
It's work ethic.
And you shouldn't say no. I mean, okay, you can turn down a cigarette ad if you so choose.
No.
And you probably, and if there are some people that refuse to do political ads. That's fine too. I used to be like that. Then I forgot that I like money. So,
Uh-huh.
to
So
remind, when bills are due, you're like, I'll do it.
be a doormat.
Be a doormat. Be a doormat.
Hashtag be a doormat.
All right. So you got a lift spot here.
Yep. However you want to do it, however many times and however many different ways.
All right. Well, the first thing I do when I look at a script is I am a C- student. So I look to see if I can pronounce everything.
Right.
The lift is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared bikes, rides, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. And then in parentheses, we're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there in more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going. Right away, all words able to pronunciate. So we're good there. Then I start to sweat when I see all the S's, because as one casting director put it, I have an S problem.
Uh-huh.
She says, not a lisp. You have an S problem. Yeah. Twitter loves to point out the way my mouth moves and my speech impediment during the entire Ameritrade campaign, which is one of the reasons I didn't want to do on-camera work. But fuck them. All right. And then another thing I'll look for is, this is a cut and paste job that you did here, so it's not like the official script. So I look to say, okay, is this a 30 seconds? There are very few 60-second spots left that I've seen. Used to be a lot of them. Like 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and then the incredible 6-second spot, which is so hard to do. You literally, unless the writing is so, I don't know how you're going to tell a beginning, middle, and an end with a 6-second spot, but we do it. We do it. So telling stories in 6 seconds. Quibi's dead. So that should have been a lesson to the short attention span theater. So this could be a 15-second spot. I don't think it's television. I would say it's probably radio.
What makes you say that?
It could be either. There's a lot of talking, so usually. Okay. But, also with these two, don't worry about, a lot of spots are overwritten. They just are, for a number of reasons. One, it could look vastly different if you book the job by the time you get in. So don't freak out about, this is a 15-second spot. I got to get it in 15. If you get it in 17, it's fine. If you get it in 11, you might want to slow down a little bit. It's okay to be a few seconds over on some of these, because sometimes, the writer's not reading it out loud, kind of reading in their head. They don't factor in breathing or lip smacking or anything like that. And, an engineer, any worth his or her salt can, pull some of that stuff out, or they speed you up, which I never like, but it's good for legal. But, get it in a ballpark. Yeah. Get it in there in the ballpark and you'll be fine. It may look different by the time you get in there, because then the legal department has come in and go, well, there's that, but then we have to have this in at the end and that. So maybe a couple of lines shorter. Just try to get it close to time without really beating yourself up over it. That's the first thing. I don't have any direction as far as what the delivery is, but so without direction, when you see things like, yeah, comma, you heard me right, it's a bit more casual. It's not, yes, that is correct, or yes, you've heard me correctly. It's, yeah, you heard me right, listing things in, commas. So it's listing, all of blah, blah, blah. We're always happy to pick up. We can help you get there more, blah, 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 and get going. So to me, it's a bit up-tempo and probably, like casual. All right, so let's just blah, 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 and slate. Oh, let me just mention slating. God, don't make a production out of it. The way I do it, this is just me. I say my name, Jim Conroy, and then I stop, and then I cut the beginning off, and I trim the end, and I drag it over to the left, and there it is, and then I start recording the spot. So I get the slate out of the way, and then I go. I don't want to slate every freaking time. It's ridiculous. Some people, they get in there like, hi, it's so-and-so. Or they'll slate in character. I don't like to slate in character. Like, even if say you're doing something like this. Hey, it's Jim Conroy. How you doing? It's fine, but you're giving them an option there. I always like to have your regular voice in there. Yeah. And then you get into the character, because then you've given them two sounds. Right. For free. So, slate is you, and then get into you're not going to get the job because your slate was boring.
Right.
It means absolutely nothing to me. All right. So let's see here. Jim Conroy.
Thank you.
Yeah. Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going.
Nice.
So there you go. That's one. Let me try another one here.
All right.
So what? So what are they selling here? That's another. So you're looking at this. So what do you? I didn't know they do all this other shit. I just thought Lyft is,
Yeah.
isn't
a car.
Lyft like Uber? It's like that.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Yeah. But
Apparently not. They do other stuff. Well, that's
Right.
the point of the spot.
Right.
We don't just say we'll pick you up, but shit, man. Say you're just trying to get on the subway and you want to get down there. We'll help you with that too. Google Maps. Lyft, baby. So I'm like, all right. So, also, it is another quick thing here. Something I've started to learn to do is sometimes I'll read into a spot and then cut off the beginning. Like I'm trying to get.
Yeah.
I have a hard time getting out of the gate where I want to be.
Yeah, me too.
And I'll play it back, and like right at about the halfway point, it's starting to kick into gear. Like I want to be at 60. I don't want to like rev up to where I'm supposed to be, because then what they've heard up until the point where I've got there is nothing good.
Sometimes what I'll do is I'll read the spot. I'll read it from halfway, and then I'll just start over again.
Ooh. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I may have to try that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh,
to
that's
steal
cool. But there are things you can do in the beginning, things like, Lyft is more, you know what? I got to tell you, and I'll try to do it in a way like, well, who am I talking to? Am I talking to a room of people? Am I talking to one person? Am I at a bar? Am I at a cafe? I'm like, I'll tell you what I think, blah, blah, blah. Then,
So what do you think?
or I'll have somebody be like, dude, Lyft just does cards. Bet. Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. And there's your first, there you go. And you just cut that other shit off. And it starts with Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride.
Yeah.
So there you are. Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Oh, yeah, you heard me right. You get shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, your public transit, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going. So little punches I put in there. It's like, oh, yeah. Oh, you heard me right. That's right.
Yeah.
When you're listing things, too, a lot of times, that old advertising adage, things in threes. Da-da-dun, da-da-dun, da-da-da. But what do you do when there's like 7 of them?
Yeah.
Where do you kick? Where do you punch? I think the more listing, better. You could do like a rye, you get the rye dry read that's always so popular. Lyft is a lot more than just a car ride. Yeah, you heard me right. Shared rides, bikes, scooters, fancy cars, public transit, and more. And they're all available with your Lyft app. We're always happy to pick you up, but we can help you get there more ways than you thought. Download the Lyft app today and get going.
Nice.
Different way to do it if you want to throw it up there. It's just, you get 2 or 3 of those in there. See, I always like being in front of the casting director because, you only have a limited amount of time.
Right.
Those that are used to that and now have to do it at home will agonize forever. All the more reason to do it sooner than later.
Yeah, I wish that I could go into the studio and get casting director. It's a lot easier for me to get immediate feedback.
Well, this has been a nightmare for casting directors who understandably feel like, they're being phased out of the equation and not really appreciated or made or people don't really understand where their value is. Just beyond like hitting record button and telling you to slate and do it a couple of times and thanks for coming in. I mean, it goes way beyond that. Their relationships with clients and their history and knowledge of what certain people tend to look for. I mean, that's important. And, look, this digital revolution was coming anyway. So who knows if it was inevitable, but as much as we as actors say, like, we love our casting directors and all that, nobody has, protested to the point where like, well, I'm not reading if I can't see a casting director. I mean, we could technically, I guess all actors, whether you're union or non-union, could have just been like, hey, we're not reading this shit. I need a casting director, but they're not doing that because it's, preservation and all that. So, but some of my good friends are casting directors, and it breaks my heart every time one of them stops or is hurting, or a studio that you've been to a million times shuts down, because things are smaller and more remote. I mean, here I am now with a studio.
Right.
I can't edit the spots. Like, I don't have that kind of skill set. I can't, give final product. I can record it. I mean, I thank God when I'm patched into a studio, I was like, all right, everybody's getting paid. Good. But a lot of times it screws the casting director. So,
Yeah.
it sucks.
So, sit or stand?
Well, I'm sitting right now. It really depends. I find as I'm getting older, I don't mind sitting, but on more energetic things, I need to stand. I just need to be stretched out, and I can be a little more physical.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't stomp around in here. It's a 4x3 booth, and I've got a monitor I'm looking at with a wireless keyboard and mouse and some equipment and stuff down here. So in hindsight, would I have liked a 4x6 booth? Probably smarter. But I was under the gun to get the last booth in the continental United States before they had to ship the rest from Spain.
Right.
So, it's standing is, look, when I hear it, I don't know. I don't know if they stood or not. Some things that are casual, a little more intimate, and especially if you're going to be recording for like a long time.
Yeah.
It might be better to stand, to sit. Animation, I prefer to stand. If they're zooming into you, better stand.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they can't see you and you can give them the performance, you sound, I've never heard you sound like you're sitting. Unless your chair is really creaky. It's like, I don't know, it just sounds very sitting.
I'm taking some tutoring with Deborah Sperling.
Oh, yes.
Like, you will be standing now, and you will be standing,
Hey, man, can't argue with that success story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she's as busy as anybody.
Yeah. So, audition suggestions for newbies that you haven't already hit?
Audition suggestions. Yeah. Well, that I haven't hit? I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to repeat yourself, you can.
Don't give them if they want 2 takes, that's not an opportunity for you to just do it twice.
Right.
Give them something a little different. Whether it's how I read Lift the first time and then kind of give them more of a wry one, could be that, just to stretch the envelope. A lot of times it's like, which one of these is what they'll like? A lot of times it's like, they can hear that, and they can hear this, and they can go, yeah, I can work with that. Somewhere in the middle is where I'm looking for. I like that. I like the range there. That's a flexible person that, if you get 2-3 takes, it's the same exact take 3 times. What the hell did you do that for?
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, sometimes you can't think of, I've had this where it's like, I can think of 2 ways to do it. I can think of 3. Maybe it's slower paced, or I don't know. You just kind of hit some things, or maybe you don't improv the first take. Give them how they wrote it. Second take, you'll usually see that in direction where you'll, no improvs on the first one. Second one, a little bit, don't go crazy. Or they may say we love improv artists. Like, woohoo, yay.
Okay.
But yeah, that's good. That's always a good one. Make sure your levels are good. If you've got the booth and all that, 4824 on that Pro Tools, and a good microphone is more important than a good booth, I'm told. I shelled out for the booth. I probably didn't have to, but in the end, I'm glad I'm dead, because I've got 2 kids and a dog and neighbors and all that. And it's also a nice little vacuum thing for when I'm ready to take a hammer to people. I can come in here and you shut it, ba-dum, and then you hear that when you lift the handle up and you get that little vacuum thing going on. That's nice. That's nice.
And is that a TLM 103? Is that what you got there?
This is a 102.
I thought it might be a 102, but I wanted to say 103 instead.
Yeah. I don't know much about mics. I mean, I have a Shure SM7B that I use for podcasting, but Frank Verderosa, who's a fantastic engineer and has helped a lot of actors get set up during
he helped me set this up, actually.
Yeah. He should be given a goddamn statue outside of the Union building.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure he would love, to pigeon shit on him. But he hates the Shure SM7B because it just sounds like a podcast mic. I don't have the trained ear to understand what he's talking about.
Mhm.
The SM7B is good for me. I have more of an upper tinny,
Mhm.
nerdier voice, and that goes a long way to like take some of that out. I probably could have gone with the TLM 103. Somebody recommended the 102 because it's good for like, tinny with the lower range. I don't know. I mean, I also have a Rode NT1A,
Mhm.
which is fantastic, and I've used that. And Frank loves that one, and it's like
Yeah.
an eighth of the price,
Yeah.
and it also
This
comes with a
one,
shock mount and everything.
this
But
is Tech Zone Stellar Audio X2 or whatever that
yeah,
Frank is
sounds
in
fine.
love with. He's in love with that one. He loves
Yeah,
this
yeah.
mic.
I mean, who are you gonna believe?
Yeah.
Some
I'm gonna believe Frank. Yeah.
actor trying to, I will say that when you have look, there are people that work out of their closet and it's perfectly fine and everything sounds fine and they soundproofed it perfectly, but it's a closet.
Yeah.
I have found that like, when I have to do a session and it's zoomed in, especially when they're first meeting you,
Mhm.
there's something about the
Yeah.
symmetry of this looks like I know what I'm doing. Do
Yeah.
I? A little bit. Not as much as his booth suggests I do.
I
But
won't tell anybody on the
there's a bit
podcast
of
if
a,
you don't.
because then you have clients who like, they just want to be reassured, especially during the pandemic, that like, oh God, I could see shirts and socks.
Yeah.
This kind of sells the illusion a
Right.
little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there for a purpose. My God.
It's an illusion, and this sells it.
That's all. It's like, oh, it's the booth. I'm like, yeah, I gotta be. I mean, it's gonna sound the same regardless of whether I had a booth or not. But as long as you feel better, that's fine.
Yep. Exactly. Nice. All right. Well, you got any self promotion to do?
No,
Self
no,
promotion time.
I don't. Self promotion time. I mean, outside of cartoons that are coming out, Jellystone sometime in 2021, and also sometime in 2021, the Cuphead show will be on. So tune into that. Um, I got some stuff coming for Disney, possibly Nickelodeon, but I can't talk about them yet because I don't know where they are in that process. Other than that, if you got a small child and they like talking cartoon dogs, there's plenty of Fetch with Rough Ruffman on Amazon Prime and PBS's website and whatnot. I actually have to buy it if I want to watch more than season 1, which is horrible. It's so bad.
That's funny.
I have not seen the 5th season of a show I did and loved because I don't want to buy it. It's so
That's
horrible.
hilarious.
Yeah, but I don't do movies or TV or none of that. So, I'm going to be one of those people that when he drops dead, you're just going to put his name in the SAG magazine, in alphabetical order with the rest of the people. So that's it. Plus, they won't have a headshot to post anyway.
Yeah. We'll just put up like that Facebook, or that
That's
Twitter
it,
picture.
man. Just take my Facebook picture. Just use that. Let's take it in like 4K. It's a professional shot.
Nice. Nice.
That's it.
Any last words?
Stay
in school, be cool.
Let's go Mets.
Nice. Thank you for not saying Yankees.
God, why would I? That's too easy.
Some people do.
That's too easy in this
It is
area.
too easy.
Yeah, stay safe, pretty much. Just hang in there, man. Vaccines coming.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're effective. That we can get back to normal lives, because
this is getting old.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's getting too, I'm liking it too much. I'm starting to like not want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's not good for the soul, man.
No.
Yeah.
All right.
I think I'd read more.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I really do appreciate it.